ready? We should be up now. To mine channel. Videos. It is live. Alright, gotta make sure I can hear myself. We're ready. Okay, yeah, you can hear me. Okay. Race 1 of a lot. Technically, it's not the first race of the season, but it's going to count for points anyways. 34 races on the schedule, 32 officially. How many people are gonna die in the hairpin? What is your guess, Jay?
7.
We'll see about that. So 22 laps is gonna be the distance. Should I turn on some music just so that way we have the we get the ambience before the session goes up on my
Sure.
Let's turn on the Hammer Down soundtrack and get a fucking strike. My curse. That's beautiful right there. Alright, iRacing, when the fuck you gonna go? I gotta get ATVO set up. Drivers, cameras, everything is looking good. I should get the track map up too, just so that way I know. You know, when there's a death. Alright, now it's time for practice. Maybe? Game capture? There we go. Alright, let's get this thing going here. Who do I pick up first? I gotta see which driver comes out first, I guess. Alright, let's see. What is the current speed of each car? Breyer seems to be the first car out. Or one of the first cars out. Actually, no, I think that's Chavez that's the first car out. We'll have 15 minutes of practice and then the race will go up. Or we'll see qualifying and then the race will be directly after that. Qualifying, I'm going to have to advance it manually though. The output looks definitely not trash. Then again, that could be just on my end. What does the output look like, Jay? If you're watching, I don't know.
It looks alright. I can read the car in numbers.
I would try to stream it on Discord, but I don't want to kill my PC, so you're gonna have to be a little bit behind as far as the live feed. So watching Chavez here, let's see, let's look through. I guess look through the roster here. We got Samudio. I was gonna fucking do Sasudio or something, I don't know. I failed. I have failed. Here is the two announcer boys. Right next to each other. That's kind of funny. Let's see, who else? Eric Monaco. Who's returned to the ASCA, as the ASCA has been on a long absence, at least as far as offline racing is concerned. Number 29 of Allison Rhodes. The boy Oz Keck. Chris Malley. Cody Gump. I'm gonna just see who's aware here. Zach Staines. Arian Azad in the one of two unsponsored cars. The real Chad here, though, is Sandeep. So the first official lap time is Jay Barker with a fast lap of 2:09.777. Samudio and Chavez not far behind him.
Should have done this with the ARCA cars.
Well, I already had the setup made before the ARCA car came out, so that's the whole reason why it's with the Xfinity.
RIP.
Don't worry, I have plans that involve the ARCA car. But I need more tracks and I need heat racing to be, well, maybe not more tracks, but I definitely need heat racing to be a thing. So right now you're the current fast qualifier. Oh, Daniel Voiles with a 2:08.543, but then Trace Howard in the 72, not far behind him. with a 2:08.111. And as more times get clocked in here. So, first race of the season, starting with Sebring. We're kind of going back to a sort of classic NASCAR where the first race of the season was Riverside, but we're not going all the way to California. Ooh, Cody Gump with a quick time of 2:08.09.
Probably helps that Riverside isn't in the game either.
Well, yeah, Riverside isn't in iRacing, so we can't actually do that. And I don't think it will ever be in the game unless they decide, you know what, let's make even more classic NASCAR. I just thought it was interesting that Riverside was like the top, I guess the first race of the season, and it wasn't actually Daytona. A lot of people think Daytona is the first actual race of the season, but it was actually Riverside. At least when Daytona was around.
You mean when Riverside was around?
Well, I'm saying when Daytona was like first built, Riverside was still the first race of the season. And then Riverside eventually got torn down. And is now a housing development in the middle of California, because that's how California works. Geez, Ricky Dixon with a slow lap. I forget what the skill spread is. Oh, there's a throwback. The 01 of Emma Bays, sitting in 10th position. If anyone remembers that name, you know, put that in the chat. Depending on how many people are watching, I don't know. We still got a few cars that have yet to qualify, that have yet to make a lap. The 15 is Stavanoa, Staines, Dixon. Technically, they have made a lap, but it hasn't counted yet, I guess. Garcia and then Latoris need to make laps. I was going to say, last place was currently the 888 of Xavier Carlson, but now it's the 73 of Martinez. Ryan Reed in the 99 car now moves up to the top of the leaderboard. You want to be sort of my fast facts guy? Give me some facts about Sebring if you have any, Jay.
Sebring is a track that's been around for a long time. It hosts, of course, the annual 12 Hours of Sebring, and it's also where IndyCar does their first tests of the year every year to test the cars out on street circuits.
Okay, I did not know that second part. The street circuit thing is a bit interesting too, considering it's not actually a street circuit. But I guess it's got the character of a street circuit. Look at the track map here to see who's going to cross the line. The 51. Let's see, the 44 is going to be crossing the line fairly soon. Oh, never mind, the 44 is in the pits. I'm trying to get a car that I can get a ride along with. Where's the 31? Where's the 31? 31 will be coming onto the racetrack. We'll be running a lap. Just see if you guys want to ride along here for a lap before practice ends.
It also held the 1959 U.S. Grand Prix.
Nice.
Won by Bruce McLaren.
Nice. think we are at Sector 3 almost. No, we're not at Sector 3 yet. We're still in Sector 2. Now we're coming down this straightaway. Straightaway, technically, not really. And there's the timing mark for Sector 3. Now this, I believe, is the longest straight on the track. Headed towards Sunset Corner, I believe is what it's called. I'm glad Verbeek decided that he's not going to pit this time by, so we can see the run to the line. There it is. And that is a lap around Sebring, if you guys were a bit curious. Oh, and then he gets a little bit frisky coming into turn 1. Let's actually see a replay of that. Definitely got some sideways movement on that, and then ended up having to counter steer a little bit. So looking at the standings, Ryan Reed is your current fast car. As the practice session starts to wind down, 15 minutes of practice, and now we are going to head into the qualifying session to see who will have the pole for the first race of the year. Right in front of him, that's the nationwide number 23 of Stuart Grattan. So based on, I guess what I would call the initial practice session, you can see the ticker going up on the you can see the ticker up on the top there. What are your thoughts as to who you might see on pole?
Well, if I look back at some of the ASCA road course results, some of the Aussie drivers seemed a bit better on the road courses back in the day, so you know, they got them V8 supercars there, so maybe it'll help them out.
Looking right now as far as where the practice session stands, you got Ryan Reed on pole, or Ryan Reed on the top spot here in the practice session. Voiles in second. Voiles wasn't the best of the ASCA in the Pennzoil series, but he was at least someone who you could see as a threat every weekend. And then Juan Garcia in the 10 car, he's fourth, and finally Cody Gump is fifth place. He's about a second, well, not entirely a second, but Arian Azad is about a second off of Ryan Reed. So the top 5 is within a second of each other at least in that practice session. And to be fair, practice can also be a little bit, I guess, what would you say? Be a little bit dodgy considering they're all racing around each other and not everyone's getting a clean lap, so.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm assuming it's going to be closed qualifying?
Yep. Single car qualifying, we'll see.
So we will see the best of these drivers' talents by themselves on the track.
Definitely drivers versus the track.
Considering how we already saw one car sideways in turn 1, I think this will be very interesting.
Alright, who'd you like to watch? Here's Allison Rhodes in the 29, or go back to Nicholas Samudio. I believe he's the first car.
Let's check out Voiles and see what he can do.
Daniel Voiles, I gotta find him here. He is the 26 car. Voiles going into the hairpin right here. So we're going to get a single lap, and then they'll have 2 qualifying laps to see who can set quick time and see who also doesn't get any off tracks, so that way they can actually set a time. So we start off on a road course, end up on a short track for the next race, 180 laps at USA International. And then we go to Daytona. I believe that is set for 70 laps, if I recall. 70 or 80 laps, I can't remember which. So coming to the line this time, Daniel Voiles on his flying lap. Looking throughout the rest of the field, there's the 73 of Andrea Martinez. Arian Azad in the 03 car. He was actually one of the few drivers who I would figure might have a chance here. To be fair, this is kind of a crapshoot considering it is a road course. I think I should have waited on the flying lap too. By the way, because now we have to watch qualifying without seeing the way that they're driving. Looking at the track map here, I can see Cody Gump is basically the first car that is going to make a lap. No, wait, that was the 99, not the 98. So looking at this here, Cody Gump will be the first car to cross the line. We'll see what kind of time he can set. And looking at it, first lap time put up. Ooh, hit the wrong button. There we go. First lap time put up, a 2:06.916 for Ryan Reed. That is your current pole time. Isaac Nichols sits in second with a 2:07.206. Daniel Voiles with a third place time with a 2:07.254. So that's top 3 right now, and it looks like the top 5 have pretty much stayed exactly the same as they were in practice. Unfortunately for you, Jay, ex-Matty P, Matthew Proctor is currently starting in 29th position at a 2:10.892. So right now, Ryan Reed in the 99 car That blue engine ice number 99 is going to start on the pole position, but we have one more lap to go to see who can get the fastest lap. Looking at the times here, Daniel Voiles might actually take the lead here, but it doesn't look like anyone has purple. Isaac Nichols will definitely lose. It looks like he might lose some time on this second lap compared to the first lap. Reed not very good in that final corner. Coming to the line here. That lap was worse, and Cody Gump falls to the top of the board. Trace Howard to the top. So now Trace Howard has the pole position, and that looks like that's going to stand. As things got shook up in that second lap is definitely where you want to have your quick time. And as everyone gets through, I believe that is everyone that needed to qualify. So as it goes across the board, Trace Howard, Daniel Voiles, Cody Gump, Ryan Reed, Juan Garcia, Emma Bays in 6th. 7th is Isaac Nichols. 8th is Stuart Gratton. 9th, Austin Jakes. And your top 10 ends with Arian Azad. Zach Staines in the 21, 11th. 12th is Brandon Bent in the 27. 13th is the 31 of Sam Verbeek. 14th is the 44 of Kelly Lee. 15th is Nicholas Samudio. 16th, Greg Shivers. 17th, Allison Rhodes. 18th is Rick Witt. 19th, Jay Barker. We're right next to each other. That seems appropriate. Jacob Stavanoa in 20th. 21st, Kyung-hee Lee. What a name. Bob Schwepka in 22nd. Chris Malley, 23rd. Jake Rogers, 24th. 25th, Andrea Martinez. 26th, Tanya Breyer. 27th, Xavier Carlson. 28th is Cesar Chavez. 29th, Sandeep Singh. 30th, Matthew Proctor. 31st, Mitchell Henderson. 32nd, Eric Monaco. 33rd is Ernest Crispin. 34th, Mikhail Latoris. 35th, Mike Mondesi. And the car starting in the last place is going to be the 001 of Ricky Dixon. So a great run from the 72 of Trace Howard to be your winner in qualifying. And so we are getting ready to get things going here. After an interesting qualifying session, we got the field set to go for your first race here in the ASCA iRacing Series.
All right, man, we're going green next time. Bye. All right, man.
Engines fire. We are ready to go here for 22 laps here at Sebring International. We haven't seen any of these drivers race in a long time. What are your thoughts going into this, I guess, Jay, to maybe see what could happen? First time out in a long time for the ASCA offline racing.
The glorious return of the ASCA is going to be, I think it's going to be a fun race today. The drivers are going to go hard. Who doesn't want to win the first race back? So people are going to remember that one.
Yeah, definitely. Although we don't have Colin in the booth, which is probably where you would maybe say the first official ASCA race would come back. But, you know, who doesn't want to win the first race of the season, I guess, in that respect. So it's going to be a fun one, I guess. I guess you can point to that and say who might come out on top. I don't know. From what I can tell, maybe it'll definitely come down to pit strategy, I believe, especially in those first few laps, seeing who has what going into the first few corners, and then obviously it might get strung out from there. But Rex could play a factor, if I can speak. guess it'll all come down to who can keep their nose clean, especially going into that hairpin. The hairpin is going to be the most interesting part of this run.
Very decorated field here today of past champions, past winners. It's kind of a who's who of ASCA history right here.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have drivers like Jay Barker, or no, we have Jay Barker. We don't have Jake Booker in the field. We don't have Daniel, or we do have Daniel. I keep naming off guys that are in the field. Kyle Collins isn't in the field. Brian Boone isn't in the field. So some of the bigger PPS names are not in the field, but we at least have one Penzo Pro Series champion. I believe, do we have one or more than one Penzo Pro Series champion in this field?
Did Voiles win one?
I don't think, no, Voiles didn't win a championship. It was you, Durrell, Booker, he won the first championship.
And who won season 2?
See, that's what I think. Durrell won season 2. It was Booker, Durrell. Did you win? I believe you won season 3, correct?
I won season 4.
You won season 4. So I'm trying to think of who won season 3, because I think that might have been Jack Newman. I believe that was Jack Newman. So either way, we still have some pretty heavy talent in here as we're getting ready to go here. Trace Howard leads the field around the final corner of the racetrack. As we come to the front straightaway, pace car pulls off. We are ready to get things going. Green flag in the air. We are racing here at Sebring. And a big move from Isaac Nichols on the start there. Looks like Juan Garcia might have spun his tires a little bit. Now Isaac Nichols going to take him maybe 3 wide into the first turn. Everything is in a big jumble behind the leaders mostly. Howard trying to fight off Voiles on his outside. Voiles, Howard, and Gump. Howard gets a little bit loose, but he's able to get out of it, and now Gump and Voiles are going to race down to the hairpin. Looks like Voiles is going to get the big jump off of that one into the hairpin. As we look back and see, we got a few cars bumping into each other coming into the hairpin. That was to be expected. Now we're back up at the front. Trace Howard still holding the lead. Emma Bays in the 01. One of the drivers that didn't have the greatest season in season 1 didn't come back to the ASCA, but makes a revival here. And Isaac in the grass. Nichols aggressive on this racetrack. Obviously he knows what he's doing on a road course, and he wants to get things going here as quickly as possible. Isaac Nichols, did he win the Copperhead Amateur Series in the first season? Because I believe he was at least up at the front of the pack in the Copperhead Amateur Series on season 1.
He was up there, yeah.
So down the long back straightaway, as we see everyone sort of fanning out. Nichols protecting that inside lane from Emma Bays, but Bays driving around that outside, seeing if she can get something going here. Those top 3 are racing each other hard. You can see Voiles trying to get the best of that 72 of Trace Howard. Trace Howard, an MSCA driver, formerly. Drove the Mobile 1 number 27 in the MSCA. Daniel Voiles, however, driving a little bit too aggressive, trying to get some moves done. Now Cody Gump has only driven real-life ASCA. So that's at least something to maybe give him some credit for. He is actually He's actually a real-life ASCA driver. ASCA on iRacing is an actual thing. I don't know if you want to go into that a little bit more, Jay, but that's up to you. So, Cody Gump, however, not able to get by Voiles as Voiles holds that spot. Are we going to see pit stops? I'm looking at it here. I don't know if we will see pit stops.
It'll be close.
I don't know what the actual fuel run is for Sebring. I know most tracks you get maybe 10. I know with like V8 supercars, when I've done testing with those, they've made it about 30 laps at the most, 40 laps at the most with smaller tracks than Sebring. But I don't believe. I think I did run them at Sebring. I don't remember for sure. But either way, it could definitely be close to see whether or not they go the full distance without having to pit. Because these are not the same kind of cars as V8 supercars after all. So it'll be interesting to watch, see whether or not pit strategy comes into play or whether it's just a pace to the end kind of thing. And the top four have pulled out a good lead off the rest of the field here. Nichols has caught the back end of Cody Gump. We're going to look back into the field here. Well, maybe not that far back. Stuart Gratton is up to the 8th position. And then not far. And then, as you can see, this is towards the back of the field. 29th is Matthew Proctor. So not running the best race that he could probably be running. Then again, it's Matthew Proctor. I don't know what you're expecting from that. I guess another big omission you could say is DW Motorsports isn't involved. They've been kind of a, Dejan's been kind of a big name in the ASCA for a long time, and not seeing him in the 21 is a bit of a surprise. Although looking at it, though, it looks like maybe Emma Bays might be holding up a good portion of the field behind her. Some of those faster front-running cars can't seem to get around her. Let's see if Stuart Gratton's going to be able to make a move on the outside. He's going to try to hold on to that outside lane. He might get the line coming off the corner, but I don't believe he will. We got one car already into the pits. That looks like Arian Azad in the 03. And then we also have the 51, who has seemed to lose some major time on the field. Looks like the 51's going to be coming into the pits. I want to see what happened exactly to the 51 of Kyung Hee Lee. And it looks like 51 just kind of got off, went a bit wide, lightly hit the tires, and had to wait for the rest of the field to come by. So a bit of an incident there on the 51 machine. So already we're seeing some issues with some drivers. So you can see Emma Bays has gotten passed by the 40 car and the 23. So Austin Jakes and Stuart Gratton have gotten by Emma Bays. So I feel like my theory might have been correct that Emma Bays was kind of holding up the field behind her. Some of those cars are a little bit faster than her. And it seemed like she was kind of holding things up for him. Back up at the front, though, Trace Howard started to pull away a little bit. Cody Gump has gotten up into the second position. I was thinking Isaac Nichols was actually going to start making a run for possibly the lead, but I think he's just fallen in behind the 26. We're only 4 laps into the race, after all, and it's 22 laps to make it to the end, so you don't want to waste everything in the first few laps. So as far as I can tell, there hasn't been much in the way of on-track issues. As you can see, the 66 kicking the back end around, or no, the 334 kicking the back end around. First turn's kind of off camber a little bit. Sort of almost has reverse banking, so you're leaning on that outside, on that right rear a whole lot. So kicking that tire out can potentially be an issue that some of these drivers have to deal with. Ah, Sneck has joined the chat. Only about 5 laps into it right now. Things have kind of calmed down since the start of the race. However, it looks like Daniel Voiles might actually try to make a move again on Gump to take back that second spot. Gump going to dive to the inside. Doesn't seem like that's too bad of a plan, considering that it doesn't seem like the draft plays that much in effect down the straightaway. But Voiles in the 26 still holding on to that third spot. Should we check in on the announcer crew? Actually, it looks like I've kind of pulled out away from you a little bit there, Jay.
Yeah, road course skill isn't really up to par. We're going to see what JBM can do here in the next couple races to figure that one out, but so far running better than we hoped for.
I mean, P22 of 36, or P21 of 36, and you're potentially battling for 20th. You're about in the halfway point. Looks like you do have some damage on the back end, probably from the hairpin on that first lap.
Yeah. I think we're just going to ride around here and hope things fall in our hands.
At this point, there's not much that's really worth it, considering Sebring's the first race of the year. It looked like Emma Bays might have gotten... Well, I might be wrong. Emma Bays probably didn't get too far out of whack in that corner. I thought that she might have. Here's kind of the real battle for the lead there. Brandon Bent and Kelly Lee fighting for position. Either that or Bent has gotten by Kelly Lee and is starting to move his way back forward again. Trying to catch that 21 of Zach Staines. Brandon Bent, not really an ASCA driver, but he's been other places. I forget which series that Brandon Bent has raced in. I think it was, what was it?
The Copperhead Amateur, I believe.
No. It wasn't ASCA related, if I recall.
The one series.
It was the one run by Dejan, if I remember correctly.
I thought it was the one that Stuart ran.
That could be true too.
AKG.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it was the AKG Cup Series. So he's been running in a couple of ASC. He's been running in some iRacing series, at least for a few, for a little bit. Doing a good job of catching that 21 machine. Aldi Cup Series was where Brandon Bent made his name. I thought that turned in the AKG Cup Series. So, looking back to, I believe I would think his teammate is the 334 Bob Schwepka. Looked like Rick Witt, though, trying to get a move done to the inside. Into the hairpin. Rick Witt with a good run to the inside of the hairpin. And this battle is going to go all the way to the next set of tight left-hand corners, or tight right-hand corners, and Rick Witt takes that position away from the 334 Bob Schwepka. And now Allison Rhodes is going to try to make something happen. Allison Rhodes, that one was a lot easier, and she moves up to the 17th place. Allison Rhodes making some definite moves. As you can see, then you have, is that the 20 car? Not too far behind him? Or is there a 20 car? I'm trying to figure out which car is which because this whole thing is jumbled up in my thing here. My standings page. 64, that's who it is. That's Jake Rogers in the 64. Sort of at the back of this crew. Allison Rhodes trying to get by Rick Witt, and then Rick Witt trying to get by Nicholas Samudio. Rick Witt moves up the track, possibly to cut off the 29, and then making a move on the one car, trying to drive to the outside of the one as Samudio. Got a good race going on here for 15th. Rhodes going in a little bit too slow on that outside. And losing the spot to Schwepka again. And Trace Howard, however, is starting to move back through the field, or starting to move away from that group behind him. Daniel Voiles has made his way up to second place. He's gotten by Cody Gump in that 98 machine, and then Isaac Nichols has started to fall off the lead a little bit since the start. So kind of some small groups coming together at this point. Everyone's kind of getting spread out in certain areas. The biggest crew, I think, at the moment is towards the back of the field. I can find it here. Tanya Breyer starting to pull away from this big crew, but Matthew Proctor is sort of the head of that train at the back of the field. And just because you're good in one race doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good in the next couple of races with the way I have the rating system set up, so it should be almost random. I believe it should be random as far as who can do what where. Just to keep things at least a little bit interesting. Proctor in the 66 car. Starting to move away from this small group at the back here. And it actually looks like Arian Azad has started to catch the back of this field. He was one of those guys that was running up front, ended up coming into the pit around lap 4. And now he's up to the back of the field. Do you find it ironic that the Dirt Vision car is leading a road course?
Not at all.
It just seems like it's kind of funny. The two most opposite of motorsports are going quite well together. It seems, because he is just checked out from second place. I don't know what the heck that was. But he's just checked out from second place. Meanwhile, Gump and Voiles are still right on each other.
I would pay to see an IMCA-sponsored car lead at Monte Carlo, though.
I don't know if you'd be able to get that, though. It's a lot of money for a small dirt sanctioning body. Then again, I don't know if you consider... Would IMCA be considered a small dirt sanctioning body, considering how widely the sanction is run?
Considering they're halfway across the country, probably not.
I mean, I would consider them... They're not dirt car, but at the same time, I kind of get what you're saying. I kind of get where you're coming from. Doesn't look like Emma Bays is really holding up anyone anymore. Stuart Grattan out in that 7th position. 8th is Austin Jakes. 9th is Emma Bays. And then 10th is the 31 of Sam Verbeek. Things have kind of slowed down here. Seems like a lot of guys are just running to run. Couple of racing groups here and there, but most of it is just kind of, you know, typical road course stuff. I'm still curious whether or not we're going to get pit stops or not. I'm still leaving up hope that we might. We go back to the battle between Kelly Lee, Zach Staines, and Brandon Bent. Just doesn't look like Bent's able to get too close to the back bumper of the 21. Although we got pretty close there. Looks like he might try to make a move. Not able to. So when they come to the line next time by, that'll be halfway. We've gotten about halfway through this race, and it's not even going to be 20 minutes. So they're making some pretty good time, I would say, all things considered. Also, the leader right now of Trace Howard is starting to close in on the back end of Kyung-hee Lee in the 51. It also seems as though Arian Azad, as soon as he caught the back of that field, he started to move through the field. Starting to pick drivers off, it looks like. I'm starting to wonder, though, because he came into pits, so I'm assuming the pit strategy for that 03 team would probably be to pit early and then just move through the field as best they can. Whether or not that'll actually be beneficial because of the pace drop they'll have by the end of everything. It's going to be questionable, but I think he might be able to pull it off. Especially once he gets by all these cars, he can definitely just start chugging away through the field again. If you were up on the box, Jay, what would be your call? Short pit or pit once you have a good amount of laps on your tires?
I would pit when I got a good amount of laps on my tires, just so you can see what the fuel window is like in case we come back to this track in a future event. And you would have fresher tires there at the end in case there's a restart coming.
Well, I definitely think it won't affect you at Sebring necessarily, but it'll definitely affect you at some of the future road courses coming up, like Circuit of the Americas, and maybe when they go to, possibly when they go to, what is it, Laguna Seca. So I'd have to check the schedule to make sure what road courses are being run in the next few races. Because Circuit of the Americas is race 5. And then Laguna Seca is race 10. And then the next road course is Mid-Ohio at race 18. So, I mean, there's plenty of road courses that they're going to have to contend with. So it's just a matter of whether or not you can use the data here to move on to the next couple of races, because those races are going to be at least a lot more laps. Most of those races are going to be around 30-some laps compared to this one being 22. So I guess it'll be interesting to see just where everyone can use this data from this race moving forward. Check back up on the leader here as he closes in on the 51 of Lee, of Kyung-hee Lee. So right now Trace Howard has definitely got a pretty good gap between him and Daniel Voiles, as Voiles and Gump haven't really been able to race each other very much. It looks like maybe Isaac Nichols could be falling back to the potential predations of Ryan Reed. So I'm not sure whether or not Nichols might actually be able to stay in the top 5, because Juan Garcia has actually been running some pretty decent laps too. So looking at the timing screen, the last couple of laps have actually been slower for Nichols than Ryan Reed, so he's definitely falling off the pace a little bit more than Reed has. So far, Reed is about the second or third fastest car on track right now, running in the 2:10.7 mark. Trace Howard, however, is running 2:10.0s, so he's definitely the superior car on track right now. Now my next question is Trace Howard going to be able to keep this pace up? If he's running 2:10.0s and the rest are running about 0.6 behind, is he going to be able to even keep that kind of pace going?
I don't know. Me personally, I think he's running too hard at the moment. I think he's got to tone it back just a bit. Maybe his crew's going to get it to him on the radio saying, hey, our tire wear might set in here, but we'll see.
Well, that last lap he ran a 2:11.0, so he ran about a second slower. Whether or not that's just tire wear really getting to him, or whether or not that's the crew telling him to back off a little bit, he's got plenty of a lead behind him, with Daniel Voles being about a second and a half back. He might be trying a bit too hard to catch the 51 of Kyung-Hee Lee, because he knows if he can put that lap car between him and Voiles, he might be able to make it a little bit more difficult for anyone to catch him after that. So looking on the track map, it seems like the leaders have a pretty good lead over from the 10 car of Juan Garcia back. Pretty much the 40 of the 40 car of Austin Jakes has about a straightaway gap between him and the 10 of Juan Garcia. He was able to get by Stuart Ratton for the 7th position, and so now he's got about a straightaway difference between him and the 10 car, so that can kind of tell you the difference in pace between the leaders and everyone behind them. As you can see here, now the 72 has caught the back of Kyung-Hee Lee, it looks like. Wasn't able to get Kyung-Hee in the hairpin, but gonna try to maybe get the 51 car coming into one of the other corners on the racetrack that are good for that are really good for passing, but it doesn't seem like he's too doesn't seem like he's too worried to be getting by the 51 car. He's got plenty of time. Looking through it though, Arian Azad has moved his way back up to 24th. Kelly Lee has just gotten by the 21 of Zach Staines, although they're still battling. Looks like Staines almost gets into the side of Kelly Lee. Now Brandon Bent's going to try to maybe take the inside. Doesn't seem to try it. Doesn't seem to do him any good. Also, Jay, it seems like you've gotten a little bit of fire under your pants. You back up into the 18th position. So it looks like
I think the goal is a top 15 right now.
And even being top 18, you're on the top half of the grid. So right now it looks like Daniel Voiles is starting to pick up some time on Trace Howard, as Howard has kind of lingered around behind the 51 car, maybe a bit too long. And he's not even going to try to make a move into turn 1. Might be looking for the hairpin to try and get a move done on that 51 car, because trying to pass through some of these first few corners, it's a bit tricky for most people to try and get it down and get it good. especially in a kind of car like this where you don't have a whole lot of grip at your disposal. So, doesn't look like he's going to go for the move in the hairpin. And the more he stays behind this 51 car, the more he's going to leave some time for Voiles to get by him. Looking back through the field, however, Brandon Bent might be going for a move on that 44 Kelly Lee. However, Kelly Lee's going to try to maybe run the outside between her and Zach Staines, fighting for that position. This is the battle for the 11th spot, and Kelly Lee looks like she's going to try to take the spot away from Staines, and it looks like she's going to be successful. However, Staines coming back out on the outside. Lee is going to defend the position. So Kelly Lee up to P11. The closest car is a pretty good distance away in Sam Verbeek in the 31, though. Trace Howard has now fallen pretty far back and now is in the clutches of Daniel Voiles, potentially. Voiles to the outside, and he's going to make that one look easy. New leader, possibly, but could change coming out of the corner, but nope. Daniel Voiles is going to take the lead here on lap 16, coming to lap number 17. So one lapped car that the former leader, Trace Howard, was sort of running right behind and not really doing anything with. He ends up losing a position to Daniel Voiles. Now the top three are really getting into it. So that move for the lead, the number 26 of Daniel Voiles, takes it. And so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we have pit stops late in the race. And now you can see that the 72 is starting to lose a lot of time. Cody Gump now to the inside of that 72 car. He is starting to fall back. So whatever was going through Trace Howard's mind seems to be like, at this point, it should have been save your tires for the end of the race. The same could possibly be said for Isaac Nichols, who's about to maybe fall to the 99 of Ryan Reed.
Isaac was very aggressive on the start.
He started, if I recall, I don't know if I can see it here, but he started pretty well towards the front of the field, but he was behind at least two groups of cars. And then he took it about 3 wide, 4 wide, ended up in this 4th position from about 6th or 7th back at the start. So definitely was really aggressive going at the start. And it looks like Daniel Voiles might be trying to get by Kyung-hee Lee. And there he goes, Lee to the outside of the straightaway, inside of the corner. They're going to dispense with that lapped car relatively quickly after Trace Howard loses the spot. Now Howard coming back to the inside on Gump. But Gump fends it off quite well. And now Nichols is going to have to use all of his road racing capability and skill to try and maybe take something here. Started pulling away from Ryan Reed in the more technical section of the racetrack. That seems to be where he's good. But when it comes to the harder corners, as you can see, a battle for the lead between Cody Gump and Daniel Voiles. Gump in the 98 trying to take that outside lane away, but Voiles is doing a very good job of holding everything up. And now this could lead to potentially more drivers joining this group and starting to battle for position. So looking at it from this perspective, it seems as though they all know they could probably make it to the end. Whether or not that's true still remains to be seen, but a lot of these guys are racing as if, they can make it to the end of the race on fuel and on tires.
Yeah, if you're going this hard,
yeah,
I'd say we're good.
And so Isaac Nichols is now trying to get to the back end of Cody Gump. He's gotten there, as Gump has lost this position to Trace Howard, as they were racing each other relatively hard. So Isaac Nichols looking to maybe take the third position from Cody Gump. But at this point, oh, never mind, they coming into the pits now. Daniel Voiles leads them in. I guess they were trying to see who can get to the front before the pit cycle starts. So all 6 leaders come into pit. Austin Jakes as well. Looks like most of the drivers are going to come into pit. Stuart Gratton also coming in. Verbeek and Bays are fighting to get into the pit lane to see who gets in there first. Looks like everyone's going to come down at this point now. Still curious to whether or not someone will stay out on this set of tires, other than maybe Arian Azad, who is right behind the 45 of Cesar Chavez and has been moving through the field quite significantly. As we look back up through the field, Trace Howard had a good pit stop. He's the one that got out of the lead first. And possible issues on pit road for Daniel Voiles. He's fallen all the way back to 6th. So possibly a bad pit stop or a bad release on the stop could have absolutely killed Daniel Voiles. And it looks like maybe Arian Azad, when he came into pit early, that was not a scheduled stop. So we're going to see whether or not, at this point, Cody Gump can hold off getting a bit too aggressive in the last couple of laps here. So pit cycle is about 18 laps, at least here. Whether or not that is, you could probably translate that into the amount of miles that they went before all coming in. So Isaac Nichols gets promoted to 3rd place. Ryan Reed and Juan Garcia still fighting over that position. Juan Garcia takes over 4th. However, Trace Howard still has 2 hungry Camaros right behind him. If you want to know the original literature of what a Camaro is, it's apparently a beast that was created by Chevy that eats Mustangs. So, whether or not that's going to be true today or not is still, well, I guess still waiting to be seen. So the leaders coming out in front of the 51 car. Isaac Nichols going to get the short end of the stick and actually having to pass the 51 on the racetrack. Remember how I said that kind of area is a little bit tricky to pass? Well, Isaac Nichols has the ability to pass in that area, so it seems like he's pretty comfortable with running road races, at least in this respect. I do not believe that they actually took tires on that last stop. So it must have just been a fuel stop. So whether or not they were racing each other hard to see who got into the pits first, or what the situation is now. So it's just a matter of, can Cody Gump catch up to the back of Trace Howard, or can Trace Howard continue to pace himself so that Cody Gump does not catch his back end. Those are the only two scenarios that are really likely here. So, coming to 2 to go. What's your thought as to whether or not Cody Gump is going to be able to maybe make the move and catch Trace Howard at the end here? Because with only 2 laps to go, you don't have a lot of time. Looking at things here, it seems as though Cody Gump just doesn't have the same pace as Howard seems to have at this point. And the 72 of Trace Howard has been one of the... Well, I guess he's been sort of the most consistent overall. Ended up losing the spots on the racetrack, but gaining it back in pit lane. And now trying to just keep his distance from the rest of the field behind him. Kelly Lee looking to try and maybe pull in that gap between her and Verbeek and get herself a top 10. At this point, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of drivers being able to race each other. Everything seems at this point a bit too spread out. White flag in the air, 1 to go for the 72 of Trace Howard. And who we thought was going to be a driver who ended up dropping back possibly out of the top 5 after he got passed by Daniel Voiles. Now it looks like he is going to be able to come back and win the race. And that is a pretty good sign, at least for that crew, that Trace Howard actually had something, or he could have just been falling back to maybe get a good entry into the pit box. I have no idea what the reason was, but they got a good pit stop, got a good release. Might have been just saving fuel, and that's the reason why he started falling back. But the last couple of corners before the final, as they're heading down the backstretch this time by, Doesn't look like anyone's close enough to catch him. Trace Howard down the backstretch. He's got to make it one more corner. And he will be the first winner of the ASCA iRacing Series. Coming around the final corner, the 72 of Trace Howard. Coming across the line will take the victory here at Sebring. Cody Gump with a solid second place. Third to Isaac Nichols. Fourth to Ryan Reed. Fifth is Voyle. Sixth is Garcia. Seventh will most likely be the 40 of Austin Jakes. And then 8th to Stuart Gratton. 9th to the 01 of Emma Bays. And then a battle for the 10th spot doesn't go good enough for Kelly Lee. Sam Verbeek will take the 10th position. 11th, Kelly Lee. 12th is Zach Staines. 13th is Brandon Bent. 14th, Greg Shivers. 15th is Nicholas Samudios. 16th, crossing the line, is Bob Schwepka. 17th, Allison Rhodes. 18th, solid top half of the field for Jay. 19th for Jake Rogers. 20th for Rick Witt. 21st, bouncing back after an earlier mishap. Comes in at 21st is Arian Azad. Jacob Stavanoa in 22nd. 23rd, Andrea Martinez. 24th, Cesar Chavez. 25th, Eric Monaco. 26th will most likely go to Sandeep Singh. 27th to Matthew Proctor. Crispin 28th. 29th to Henderson. 30th to Breyer. 31st to Malley. 32nd to Xavier Carlson. 33rd, Ricky Dixon. 34th, Mikhail Latours. And then finally crossing the line, 35th is Mike Mondesi. Kyung Hee Lee, one lap down. That's your final running order. And that is going to be it for race number .25, I guess you could call it. First race of the ASCA iRacing Series, and that seemed to go pretty smooth, all things considered. So I'm going to send it to Jay. Jay, what were your thoughts on this first race of the season?
It was very calm for what I was expecting, but it was pretty good also. Had highs and lows in that race, comers and goers. So I'm looking forward to see what happens next.
Well, next race is going to be a short track, completely different sort of style of racing, some people would say. I would say it's a relatively similar style, but...
Yeah, USA, just high banked hairpin. But, yeah.
But USA International Speedway will be the next race on the schedule. And Trace Howard will most likely be hoping to come back and, I guess, win another one. But we'll just have to wait and see whether or not that's going to be the case. So that's going to do it for the ASCA iRacing Series race number 1. We're going to have a quick look into the current point standings to see where everything stands. Most likely everything's going to stay the same from the start. So Trace Howard takes the first race win of the season. And next race is USA International for 180 laps around that 3/4 mile short track. And let's look at the season standings. For the iRacing, I guess it's the iRacing Casey's Cup Series, is what I have come to name it as. So, looking at the current point standings, will be Trace Howard with 60 points for the win. Next closest will be 35 points for Cody Gump. And then all the way down, everyone basically gets the points where they finished. So you get 60 points for a win and 35 and down for second onwards. So a good finish for Trace Howard. That'll vault him up the point standing significantly. Led 19 laps over the course of the race. 3 laps for Daniel Voiles over the course of the race. Couple of incident points going to Schwepka, Samudio. A lot of that most likely was on the first lap coming into the hairpin, but most of all, it seems to be pretty basic for the first points. So that's going to do it here from Sebring. We will see you probably next Sunday for the first race at USA International. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you guys next time.